So now let's continue about the data page again from the yesterday's class. So this is the part 2. So in the data pages, you may know, right? So it will be created under the data records tab under the data model category. If you open the data page here, so there are multiple data pages are present. Yesterday we created d underscore fetch countries, right? So here you can see few other options. The structure we discussed, object type we discussed, and now it comes to mode. What is called modes? So here we have three type of modes. One is read only, editable, savable. Based on the type of data page you are going to create, based on the business functionalities, we have to use these modes. First we'll understand what mode and what are these modes, and when which time, like what is the point of time I need to go with the read only, when I should go with the editable, when I should go with the savable one. So first thing is first, we'll go with the read only mode. So these data pages, as of now, whatever we created, right? So mostly we'll keep it in the read only mode, and these will get created under the clipboard about the under the data pages tab. So if you open the clipboard, right, if you want to see, normally data pages we create under the data pages will get stored under this data pages tab. So here under thread or requester or node, whatever the data page you are trying to create, right, those will formed under this thread or requester or node type of data pages. So if you are selecting a read-only data page, if you are selecting a read-only data page, you need to debug. Let's say you are running a data page. Let me run this one. Yesterday we created one report definition and gave as a source to this one, right? If I try to run from here, indirectly you are running the report definition. That report definition will give the data to data page. So those data will come under the PX results, right? Now, after you run the data page, what does it mean? Data page is going to maintain these records in the cache memory. So where you can see that cache memory? You can see under the clipboard, right? So if your mode is read only, right, you have to go and see in the clipboard level under the data pages tab. So here you can see, if you scroll up, right, you can see the option called clipboard. Once you open the clipboard, you may have some questions like, where should I go and check? That will be depends on your mode of data page you created. If you created under the data pages of, so under the read only mode, right, you have to go to data pages. In this you need to search which scope of data page you created. You need to expand that into that one, whatever the data page you are trying to cache here, it, so those memory will be stored under this one. All the results will come here and it will get stored. So what does it mean read only means? Usually these read only data pages are used to refer the data, only for the referring purpose, and we can't update the data page information. We can't update the information on the data page level. Normally you are loading the data, right? Let's say 5 countries are there. If you want to update any of the country name, let's say country name is Sri Lanka, you want to update with something, or else country code is SR, I want to update with SRK. So in this case, after you load the data, right, after you, like during the loading or post processing activity, you cannot do any kind of modification into this one. Once you are loading, whatever the loaded data is coming, those data only will be is going to present in your clipboard. So the editing mode is going to be prevented in your application. So this is not going to be editable one. In the clipboard level, you cannot edit anything after you load the data. Whatever the data, if you want to edit, right, before you run it only you have to do some changes, but after you do, this is not at all going to allow you to edit the data. Let me give an example to make you more understanding. The example is like when accessing the accident history from the auto insurance. So let's say there is an application called auto insurance once, where they can provide their claims. You can go to that application, you can visit the application when you want to claim your accident related details. So in that case, usually customer from the DMV team database. So normally DMV is nothing but Department of Motor Vehicles. So from their data has to be fetched. So in that case, whatever the data you're trying to do, right, so whatever the rules and whatever the regulations are present, they have to take from that database, and that database data, whatever you're trying to fetch, that rules and regulations, right, so those are not allowed to edit, because those are legal requirements, right? Those are legal information, right? Those legal information, after you fetch out, you should not able to edit those things. In that case, you are trying to extract the data from the backend table, right? the DMV table, right, database. So from there, whatever the data you are trying to load, those are very confidential and those are like highly legal. So that is the reason we should not allow to edit those things after the loading data. So in that case, when you are trying to use the data page, right, in those cases you have to keep the data page as read only. Read only means before loading only you can do the modification. Once you load the data, once the data has been fetched, right, you cannot modify these things, these results. You cannot modify these results in the clipboard, whatever the temporary storage is there, right? Those things you cannot do. So most of the business cases will go with the read only because we are trying to load it. You are trying to display country names, you are trying to display state names and city names. There are huge data, that is the reason you are fetching from a table, right? In this case, what is the point of updating those things after fetching? No point, right? Because already we are maintaining the database, maintaining in a table, then what is the point of changing? So in that case it is not needed. So in those cases mode you should keep it in the read only mode. And there is another option is called editable. This we can use in some kind of business scenarios, but you should know this one. When you keep the data page as editable, right? So let me keep it editable and I'm trying to save this one and I will run it. Let's see where this data page is going to be stored. Once you click on run, so again the report definition everything will run, you will get the results, right? PX results, you may have the results. If you open the clipboard, whenever the data page is editable, you don't need to go and search under the data pages. You can get this information under the user pages itself. Under these user pages only you will get the data pages information. Just search for this d underscore fetch countries. So next time whenever you are planning to debug where this data page means, you should know that what is the data page mode. Based on that, where to search, where to debug, where to identify, you will get some idea. If it is editable, it will come under the editable data pages. So under the user pages you can see all the results are coming over here. So what is the point of these editable data pages? Like, so editable data pages are used for referring the data, as well as it can be updated on flying up by using activity. Means normally you are loading 50 records. In that 50 records read only mode, what it will do, whatever the records are present, it will load the data and you cannot do any kind of updates. You are just used to refer the data. Referring in the sense using in the section to display to the user or using somewhere else for some other purposes. But these editable data pages you can refer it and you can update it also. Let's say country name is USA, right? United States. But if you want to change it after loading the data, if you want to modify this table data, this cache memory data also, you can update by using activity. In those cases, if you need, you have to keep those things in the editable mode. So these are very similar in the user pages. Normally our application data will come under the user pages, means whatever the user is going to take actions only, it will come under user pages, right? So this also it is coming under the user pages. The reason is user can edit this kind of information. So when what kind of scenarios we can go with this kind of editable data pages? So if you ask me the example, I can say uh, for example, a retailer is there. Okay, so he's allowing customer to save one or more preferred shipping addresses to use whenever they placing order. So you are ordering something, but your retailer is expecting like now you kept your address somewhere, like it's going to be Hyderabad, you kept as Hyderabad, but at any time if you want to change your address, right? So once you're keeping your address only, everything got updated. Again if you want to update your address, or again you want to update multiple times, so your retailer is saying that my customer can update at any time their addresses. He can change his country, he can change his city at any time he wants to update at any time means. So in that case these data pages we have to keep it editable mode. So during the address time, right, this page will behave like editable and it can be updated at any time. I will show you one practical on this one, you will understand more about this one. Okay, now let me show you the another feature is called savable data page. So this savable data page is the one which is started from 8.4. So normally if you want to, so every data page and report definition we are trying to retrieve the information from the table, right? But this feature is going to update the database. Let's say after fetching the data I am updating my phone number and I want to save it back in the database. I want to save it back in the database again. So in those cases we can go with this savable data pages. So once you click on the savable data pages, right, you may see some other options like data save options. By using these features, you can save the data back to the data source. Example, your customer updates shipping address, right? So the application copies the updated address to the savable data pages. And as I mentioned you, like if you want to, like you want to update your other phone number, right? In your other, you want to update your phone number, or you want to change your address. So in those cases, if you go to me seva, they will launch the application, they will interact with the database. After giving your id, your data will be displayed on the screen. So they will update. After they update, right, they will again push the data into the backend, right? It has to update it in the backend table as well. So to do those kind of things, to save your application changes, to save your other changes into back to the database, in those kind of time we can use this savable data page. I will again come to this point, savable data page for the practical part, so you can ignore as of now. Okay, you are clear about these three things, right? So let me show you after this one. If you click on read only mode, you have three modes like thread and requester and node, right? If you keep it editable mode, you can see thread and requester only. And when you keep it savable, you can again see only thread and requester. So why these scopes are changing every time? Let's focus on this. And again, on the right hand side, key data page access also coming. We'll discuss about this part as well. First, before going to this one, let me show you what is this scopes. So you can see this one. These are three things. There are three things: thread, requester, and node. These things are interlinked. Usually, what is called thread means whatever the instance you're opening, right? Let's say I created one case that is P1. So that case ID is a thread, and you are trying to create one more case, right? That is another thread. So each of the time the application is interacting with one transaction, right? Each transaction we call it as one thread. Okay, so if you are trying to open one case means multiple times, so one thread only you are trying to open. If you are trying to open multiple cases, right, those are multiple threads. Okay, so now when it comes to requester, requester is the one who is going to log into your application. Let's say Sayali opened the application. Sayali is one requester, and one requester ID will be created for Sayali in the backend in the clipboard. And when Akshay is going to log in, right, Akshay is one more requester, and Abol is logging, so Abol is one more requester, I am one more requester. So for every requester, one requester ID will be generated in the backend, that is going to be unique one. So one time Akshay log into the application means Akshay has, like, Akshay is the requester, so one requester ID got created, right? Until Akshay log off, he may create multiple cases, right? So Akshay can create multiple cases, in the sense Akshay can create multiple threads in the backend, right? Case is nothing but one thread without, right? So in that case, one user means one requester can be created multiple threads. Okay, that is the reason each requester is mapping with multiple threads. It is noting in this way. And what is called node? Now let me understand you. So already we discussed about the thread things, right? So whatever the thread cases, right, you can see in the clipboard under the user pages. You can see here, if I open any kind of case, you can see the option thread, you can see the thread option here, right? Whenever you log in any kind of case, let me open the case by using my class. So I will open my class instances. From here I'm opening C44001. When you're trying to open your clipboard from this one, so directly your thread will change, means each case will be copied here and it will be shown. This is your case information, it is coming under the thread. So now this thread level scope is used in multiple times. In the same way, every thread is going to be maintained under user pages. So in the requester data page we already discussed, right? Requested data pages will be available for sharing multiple work objects in the single requester session, as I mentioned here. So one requester can create multiple threads, and one node can create multiple requesters, and one requester can create multiple threads. So what is the point of making these all things means? Here the entire point is, before I will explain about the node level, then I will go with the scopes. So node level is the one, like you guys are all are logging to the application, right? You have your different requester IDs. Whoever is logging, they will get generated one new requester ID which is going to unique for them. So every requester is has to they have to request to one server, right? That server or node, that is called a server or node. Let's say Aboli, Akshay and Sayal is trying to launch application, right? You three are going to connect only one server. It may be vary, but if you are trying to launch one application, one server only, right? So that server level you are going to be accessed. Under one server, you three are going to access, and under one requester, you are going to create multiple requests in this way. So if I do in that way, what is the use? The use is here why we are keeping these all things under the scopes requester, because what kind of scope you want to maintain. Let me take this example. Let's say you are creating a data page. That data page is what purpose? Which is going to store the data temporarily after you fetch 5 records, right? These 5 records you're going to store it temporarily in the clipboard. So how long you want to store the data? How long you want to store the data in the clipboard? That is the thing we are going to maintain in the scope. How long you want to scope this means how long the scope is there to hold the data. If you keep it thread level, right? Let's say I created one data page in the thread level. Thread level means what? It will vary based on the cases. Means once you load the data, once you created a case and you are trying to fetch the data by using country, right? Once you click on this one, 5 records got loaded. If you keep it thread level until this case is open, means until this thread is open, right? Whatever the data first time you are fetching, right, those data will be loaded into this one. But if you create a new case, right, it is going to form a new thread again. It is going to form a new thread. So for new thread again, data page is going to flush. Data page is going to reload again. Usually, if it is normally 5 records are present, right now. So these 5 6 records is going to first time whenever you click on the drop down, right, these data pages will load. So first time report definition will run. It will fetch the data of 5 to 6 records. It will keep it in the storage purpose in the data pages. So next time whenever user is trying to click on the same drop down, rather than fetching from the database, it will go and check in the backend whatever the clipboard storage is present. It will fetch over from there and it will display. So how many times user is clicking also, those many times data is not going to fetch, data is going to fetch from the clipboard itself, right? So how long it will be? It will be when it is thread level data scope means it will be updated only till this case is open. Once you go with other case, right, means other new thread will come. So for other new thread again report definition will run from the first. Once I click on this one, right, let's trace this one. Now once I click on this drop down, once I click on any kind of thing or anything, you can see in the back end again all the data will be run. So just a second, let me read this, load this one. Okay, rather than keeping in trace, let's understand, we'll update the table and we'll understand one thing. So this is the country table, right? So right now C444001 is there and 2 is there, right? So let me understand this. Now countries are there. So how many countries are present? Let's say 5 countries are present. Now I'm removing United States or else I'm removing India. Okay. Now go back and click on this drop down. India is still present, right? Because when I click on this one, whatever it is not fetching again. What it is doing, when you click on this one, it is directly, rather than fetching the data, it depended on the backend table. It depended on backend table. Sorry, rather than fetching the data from the backend table, it is depended on the clipboard page. Here already data page got loaded. It fetched the first time 5 records. Next time whenever user is clicking on this, it is expecting the same results from there rather than fetching from the database. Now I'm going to create a new case. So in this new case, whenever you create a new one, right, first time whenever you are running the drop down, first time it will fetch, it will show whatever the results are present. Here no India is present, right? So second time whenever you fetch, right, again it will give the same results. Let me go back to country again, country table, and here again I will update the records. Again I will update the records, like here again I'm adding India, and also I want to add China. So even this case is open means it is not going to fetch the existing record, because one time thread level data scopes when we use, whenever you want to get the data, each transaction, let's say Akshay is creating an insurance application, like Akshay is planning to take some insurance application. Okay, right now while taking his I want to show him some kind of drop down values like country, states and cities, whatever the data he's doing, right? So once he created started application, once he click on the drop down, as of now whatever the database records are present, those will be displayed. Let's after 10 minutes the data got updated, but if you keep it thread, right, you cannot see the updated data. But at that time Aboli launched the application. Aboli is trying to create one more application, like I mean one more insurance she want to take. That time again it will be updated with new data, but until she log off and log in back, or until she close the case, right, again new updated data will not come. Because each transaction, if you want to get the fresh data, in that case you have to go with this thread scope. But the requester scope is like, if you create, if you maintain your thread data page as requester, right? So in that case what will happen, once you log in, once user is login, right, whatever the data got loaded, those data only is going to be useful for all the cases. Because I already mentioned here, one requester can create multiple cases, right? So in that case, just a second guys. So one requester is login, right? So one time whenever requester is getting login, right? Example, while logging this requester, first time whenever he is trying to click on the drop down, let's say 5 records are there. So until he log off, the data page is going to, next time whenever you click on the drop downs or whatever the case you create, data page will be the data will be taken from the clipboard only. Again, it won't refresh the data until this session, again until the requester is not going to log off, right? So the data will be retained over there only. Again, once requester is going to log off, then only the data is going to update. I will show you the example. Now let's say I kept this my requester level, I kept this one in my requester level, right? So let me see how many records are present. I'm closing all these cases. I will create one more case. Let's say right now I have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 records are present. So okay, let me create one case. Now I'm clicking on the drop down. First time when I click only, data is going to fetch. 7 records are coming. As my requester is requester level database, right? Now I'm going to delete these things, other records. Let's delete China and let me delete the Nepal. Now, as usual, normally these records is not going to update. Let's see with the new case. Let's create with a new case. Once I click on this, still these 7 records only coming. If I create one more record also, one more case as well, this data is not going to fetch the data from the database. Why? Because you kept your database scope as requester. Requester means you are the requester. Whoever is logging to the application, right? Those are the requesters. So one time requester is login, right? Whatever the data is there in the backend table, means when you click on the drop down, whatever the data you are trying to fetch, right? That data only is going to fetch first time from the table, and that data is going to give to the data page. Data page is going to maintain in the backend, where you can see if it is a read only one, right? You can open your clipboard. Once you open your clipboard, you are not submitted, right? So you should not allow to open the case. You can directly open. Okay, so once I open this case, so you can go to data pages. In under the requester level, you can see your application, like thread application, fetch countries. So first time whatever the 7 records are present, right, until this requester is logged off, those results only is going to be picked. So when you have to keep the requester level means, whenever once you don't want, you want to restrict the updated data. Let's say first time you started, you want to take some plans, like you have some insurance plan. Okay, you are trying to create your application. I mean, you want to take an insurance application. You launch the application. So today morning 7 o'clock you started. You are going through that. In between 8 o'clock, one new feature came in the policy, but you want to, already that user has started. He is analyzing, right? If you want to if you want to if you don't want to update those things until for the next requester, until this requester is stopped, or else until this policy is completed, you don't want to show this to the customer. So in that case, you have to keep this scope as requester. Even until this requester is log off and login back, these results is not going to get retained. I'm launching this one. Once I launch, right, my new requester ID is going to generate. Even I log in with the same ID, new requester ID is going to generate under the clipboard. If you open the clipboard, you can see new requester ID under your system pages, operator ID, or else you can see under the requester. New requester ID, PZ requester ID is there, right? This ID will be generated every time unique way. So now let's create a new flow. Now whatever the records are present, 5 records, right? Now new requester came, right? So whatever the requester is going to do, it is going to fetch from the table again. 5 records will come again until he log off and log in. Like whatever the updates he cannot see, whatever the updated things are going to happen, right? We can avoid those things. So that is the point of scope. So what scope you want to create? Sometimes this is needed, sometimes it is not needed, because let's say once you let me open something like ClickBuzz. Okay, you log into this one. When you click on this link, right, what it will do, when you click on this one, it is going to fetch the data from the table, like whatever the data is updating. Like right now this New Zealand or something is 158.5 and 20 overs or something, right? It's completed. Now something is whatever the things are running here. Let's say this one 157 out of 2, 18.4, right? So this one Nepal won by 8 wickets. Okay, it's already done. If something is running, right, until you refresh it, this data is not going to be retained again. So when you want to refresh and load the data, you have to go with the thread level. But until you, even how many times if you load also, how many times you opened also, until you log off and log in back, the data has not to be updated, means you have to go with the requester one. Thread scope, another one is what? Another one is called node level database, right? Node level means, let's say my data is not, my data is going to be constant. Most of the times my data is not going to change. In that case, do you need to load the data page and keep in the backend? No, right? So in that case, what we have to do, let's say I right now my application is serving for 10 countries. So 11th country may come, but not right now. So in that case, every time we don't need to fetch the data and store it in the backend for every each of the case or every each of the requester, right? So in that case, we can keep the thing in the thread node level. So node level means what will happen, let's say requester 1 and requester 2 may connect with one server, he may connect with other server, because in the node level some load balancer will be there whenever the requester is going to be more on one node, right? So it will be balanced with by connecting another server or another node. So in that case, what will happen, this requester 1 and requester 2 may connect with one node, means whatever the data is going to load at that time, right, that loaded data only will be served to these two requesters. Again requester 3 is going to connect with another node, means again it is going to start from starting, like whatever the updated data is present, it is going to load with that one. So here how much time that loaded data is going to hold, that we can decide by giving this thread, requester and node. So based on your business functionality, right now you are learning, right? So but in when you are going to work in your project, based on your project work, based on your business requirement, it may vary. You need to understand, okay, my data is going to be changed very frequently. My data, like client can come update it anytime. So every time the data is going to be updated, most of the times, means you have to keep it in thread. So let's say today's one customer is using, data got updated. For next customer came, again updated data I want to give. Another customer, I want to give one more updated data. Whatever the table is updating, keep on, I want to update it to the user, means you have to go with the thread. But some cases, like once user started working, once user started creating something, so you want whatever the data was updated till that time only, I want to load it. Until he close it, the hook close the case, I don't want to update the data. In the meanwhile time, whatever the things got updated also, I don't want to display for the user. So in that case, you can go with the requesters. Node level means your data is not at all going to be updated. It is going to be very like very less chances to update the data. So unnecessarily, if you don't want to run some backend code, means you have to go with the node level scopes. Okay, so this is the way we can understand what is thread, requester and node level, and also we can see what are the read only, editable, or what are the modes we have, right? So those things we covered today. So these are the things. So based on your business idea, you need to implement this one. Okay, and why, when you create a mode, like whenever you change the scope to let's say read only is there, right? So if I keep it editable one, right, you are not allowed to keep it in the server level, because you are not allowed to edit the server level changes. Editable is not allowed for the server level changes, because server is nothing but node is going to have multiple requesters, right? So this may affect with all the requesters. Let's say I created one application and I want to make some modification. I want to keep my data page in the editable mode, right? But that data page can be used by Akshay, Aboli and Sayali also. I don't want to trouble them. I don't want to make my changes to updated there. So that is the reason editable mode, you cannot see the thread level, node level scope. If you are going to change the savable data page also, you cannot see the node level data scope, because the saving data is not allowed for everyone to all the requesters at a time. You are not served to be saved in the backend. So that is the reason this will be avoided for this one. So it will be allowed only for the read only. So you know, right, read only is the one which is going to just referring the data. We are not, after loading, we are not allowed to do any kind of modification. So this is about today's agenda, guys. So this is about the modes and requesters and scopes. Okay, any questions do you have?
No questions. No.
No, Rakesh.
Okay, shall I proceed with the parameterization,
Yeah.
or else we'll continue the theory part only? And because of Sally have some pending works of yesterday's one, practical we can see tomorrow. Okay, I want to go with some other options in the data page. What do you say, guys?
Fine, Rakesh. No issues.
Yeah, no problem.
You are clear, right? You just need to
Yeah, yeah.
understand only. This is not about, like, if you go to any interview, right, they may ask you what are the scopes are there in data page. This is main important interview question. Okay, they will ask you what are the scopes of the data page are present. You can answer like there are three types: thread, requester and node. What are the modes are there, means read only, writable and savable. And they will ask like what is called requester, thread and node, means whenever we keep the data page in the thread level, it will be useful to load the data for each of the thread, each of the case separately. And if you create it requester, means once user is logs in, means requester is logs in, the data page will get loaded, and until he log up, the data page is not going to be refreshed again. And the thread node level means data page is going to maintain for all the requesters and threads until the node is turned on. Now, means until the node is again refreshed, right, the node is changed, the data will be retained. Okay,